got junk. What do we do now? What's up, guys? Welcome back to Project Time Garage. We're back on our really cheap Toyota 4Runner or 4Stumbler, as the case may be. Today we're going to pull the upper intake off of it, and we're going to pull that valve cover off on the passenger side, because if you remember in the last video I did on this thing, I'll link that up here if you haven't seen that. We found out it has a dead miss on 3 and 5, no compression back there at all, and no crankcase blow by. So all that tells me probably valve train is the problem. I'm going to say probably intake valve that's either stuck or bent or broken or chipped or missing, or something's wrong in the intake side, I think, because when I pull the oil cap off, I have tons of vacuum there. I don't have any pressure. I have no blow by at all, no crankcase positive pressure. It's tons and tons of vacuum. So I think that's what's going on. Anyway, before we do that, I have some housekeeping that has to happen. Namely, we got to jockey a bunch of cars around. So I think what we're going to do is, I think we're going to get the Shelby started and move it out, and we're going to move the 4Runner into its home, and that's where we'll work on the 4Runner, because it's going to be a few days while this thing's apart. Because once I get it apart, I don't know what I'm going to find. I don't know if I'm just going to, you know, put a set of head gaskets in it and, you know, and run with it, or if I'm going to have to source a head, or if I'm going to send this head to a machine shop. Suffice to say, it's going to be a few days. Plus, we're going to do a timing belt job while we're there anyway, and probably a water pump job while we're there, and a few other things on the front of that engine after we figure out what's wrong with it. We're not dumping any money into it until we figure out what's wrong with it. Anyway, so the Shelby's coming out, right? I think what we're going to do, we'll move Freedom out. The Pathfinder is sitting way back there in the back. I think you can see it in front of my tractor. We'll get the Pathfinder out of here. We'll put the Shelby in where the Pathfinder is, and we will put Freedom here back in where it's at now, in front of the Shelby. And that will be a really nice car jockeying type thing. But before we do any of that, I gotta get the Datsun out of the way, the 521, so I can move things in and out cleanly. So I'll take you with me as we as we move all these cars away. You know, I think I may have too many cars. That's not it. I just don't have enough garage space. Everybody knows that. Dang. All right, let's get to moving. Man, I tell you what, the little Datsun, it just works every single time. I swear, I think it's the most reliable vehicle I own. Well, let's get Freedom out next. Cold out this morning. Starts good though. Good old Freedom. That old 7.3 That's another loyal one right there. I don't think anything's ever gone wrong with this thing since I, did all the stuff I did to it in all that video series. Been a good truck. Well, next is the trash finder. Chirp, chirp. Well, I'm real curious about this. This hadn't been started in probably a month. It's probably got a dead battery. Not dead, but probably not great. No, heck yeah. This guy's gonna run just fine. Look at that. Hear that hear that lifter tick up there? Sounds amazing. ABS and brake light are on. Like every other hard body of this era. I think that was on from the factory. So this truck is gonna go, I'm gonna park this truck up at the house. Our tack doesn't work still. Well, it does work sometimes. It works when it wants to. It's another project I got to work on at some point. Fixing that. Put the door in this thing and a whole lot to do. Okay. Time for the Shelby. I can almost guarantee you of a dead battery in this one. Let's see. Yeah, we're parked pretty close to the Challenger. So I'm going to roll my window down since it curves in so much. Gives us a little more room. We're going to get always stuffed down into this car with our big selves. Battery's going to be dead or weak, and we're going to get out. Battery booster pack on it, I'll betcha. All right. Survey says called it. Never seen one of these booster boxes before. This sucker, it legit started Freedom with no batteries at all in it. Like just the booster box, clipped on, started a truck. I was a believer. Round two. Ever seen those before? We did those on Freedom. That's the mil spec battery terminals. I'll put a link down there to Amazon for these things. They are awesome. They are awesome. Everything looks to be doing good. Might as well leave that hood popped because the battery's going to be weak again. Hey, Mopar Garage, I'm going to get to my steering rack. Just wait. Oh, by the way, hey guys, let me give a quick shout out to Mopar Garage. He's working on a Shelby Daytona. I forget what year it is, 86 I believe it is, Shelby Daytona. Pretty cool. You should go check his channel out. I want to go ahead and stick a link to his channel up there, the Mopar Garage. Guy's gonna have some really good content on that car. As a matter of fact, he just got done putting a steering rack in the car, which pretty much, or actually he's working on putting the steering rack in the car, which involves dropping the K-member or the K-frame. I'm not looking forward to it, but I had the exact same problem in mind. It's leaving a trail of power steering fluid everywhere it goes. In fact, I had this thing all shined up to go to a local Cars and Coffee, and wouldn't you know it, it's sitting out front idling. I noticed this gigantic puddle under the front of it, and that's when the seal in the steering rack decided to go. Anyway, let's move the thing. You ever see that Austin Powers episode where he had the little golf cart? That's what I feel like. We should go for a little toot up the driveway, shouldn't we, since we have the thing out? Yeah, the hood's still just on the safety latch, but take it under a little bit of boost here, see what happens here. Yay. All right. In your parking spot you go. Dash lights still look good after we did them. Look really good. In fact, there's another thing I'm gonna have to pay attention to. The charging. I've got charging issues. Brand new rebuilt alternator. It just doesn't charge good at an idle. And it does that whole flippy floppy thing going on when it's charging. And there comes the fans on. You see what the fan does, it just pulls it down. If you have the fan and the headlights running too, it barely can keep up. Well, that's the Shelby out of the way. I guess the only thing left to do is go grab the 4Runner, get it put in place. And I'm probably going to take some of these heaters and stuff that I had in here for the winter and get those put away, since hopefully I won't need them anymore. I say that, it's been like, we've had like 14 winters this spring. Well, old Skippy's in here. I guess it's time to start working on getting this upper plenum here off. It's going to be kind of boring work. Basically, at this point, what I'm going to do is just get hoses unhooked and labeled. Where they go and all that, I'll just use tape and numbers, because there are a ton of them here that all look the same. They're numbered here, but you know. So we'll do that, and I'll bring you guys back when I get some of this stuff off. We start working on the other side. I'll give you a quick update, but right now this is going to be so boring that you probably don't want to watch this. Well, here I am. I've got a lot of this vacuum stuff unhooked. I got some vacuum hoses down here, a little cluster. I'm not sure if those are attached to the bottom of the upper intake plenum or if they're attached to the lower. I'm hoping they're attached to the lower, because it'll be a little easier to label. All of these have numbers on them, like this is number 1. So what I did was I just put tape on the ports they come from. It may not matter, but it probably does, since this appears to be a vacuum solenoid. I'm also going to I'm also going to zip tie all these together that go in a certain area. And at least that will kind of help me ensure that I get them back in the same, at least connector. At least I'll be sure about that. I've never seen more vacuum hoses in my life. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm going to go to the other side and work on getting the air intake off of it and everything unhooked on this side. And I'll probably go ahead and just crack the throttle or the upper intake loose and just kind of wiggle it and see what has to come off. Once that happens, I'll bring you back. Well, I think that's everything. Can't really tell, but I think that's it. Ooh, mouse nest. Check that out. That is a mouse casa right there. Yikes. Okay, well, I guess the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these plug wires out of the way, get the coolant drained out of it, and get the front timing cover out, because this water neck has to come out in order to get the front timing cover off of it. And I'm at least going to see what condition this belt is in. I'm sure it hasn't been replaced, and I can't believe they didn't give you any way of inspecting them, but they didn't. It's pretty much a take it apart or you'll never know kind of deal. Well, let's put the old rigid MNRS to work. It'd be the mouse nest removal system. Well, I decided to go ahead and pull the valve covers off before I even look at the timing belt. I just want to see what kind of shape it's in. Just want to know what kind of shape or what we're dealing with under here. I didn't want these things coming off. There's like 14 bolts in the valve cover. Nice. All right, let's see what's under here. not sure what I even expect, honestly. I expect them to come off. That's what I expect. There we go. Man, these there's so many plugs here. There's so many things going on. And that's a ground. There we go. Well, I went ahead and pulled the valve cover off because I want to see what I'm dealing with here. And actually everything with the shim caps looks fine. The cam itself actually looks okay too. It doesn't have any abnormal wear. It looks, it's okay. I don't know what the deal is right here. It may just be sludge or whatever. But anyway, here's the takeaway. This is the intake and exhaust valve for cylinder number 3. One of the ones that has no compression. I've got my air hose fed right into this thing, and we're going to put some air into it and just see where our leak is. Okay, so with air going into it on cylinder 3, I have lots of air coming out. So that intake valve is not sealing at all. Also, I've got some crossover with this one, so I may have a head gasket blown between cylinders because I've got a little bit of pressure coming out right there. What about the exhaust pipe? Yeah, I have quite a bit of air coming out the exhaust pipe, like a lot of air, too much air. So that seals the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Head's got to come off. I'm not even going to look at cylinder number 5 because it doesn't matter at this point. Cylinder number 5 could be in perfect shape, but 3 has got it. At least both valves aren't sealing on that cylinder. So I guess we are going to pull the head on that side. Not looking forward to that at all. But anyway, that's what's about to happen. Head pulling. Well, so far we've managed to get the fan off of it and working on draining some coolant out of it now so we can get that upper housing off of it. I want to pull that front timing cover off now, because now that I think about it, now that I see a little more of what's going on, I've got valves bent in 2 cylinders. 2 cylinders that have the exhaust valves open at roughly the same time, I think. If that's the case, I think this thing probably slipped time. My guess is the timing belt didn't get changed at intervals because for whatever reason, people pay good money for vehicles and they never check the timing belt, and it will bite you. Timing belt's a serious thing when it lets go. I don't think this one let go, but the truck is way down on power. And yeah, it's dragging 2 cylinders. I get that. But literally, you can hold your foot to the floor and it'll get 2,800 RPMs, and that's about it. So I have a feeling that we may be, the timing may be retarded some. And if that's the case, then that's probably what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover out of here, and we're going to see if we have slipped time or not. On these 3VZE engines, we have to pull this housing off of it, and then we've got bolts that go along to pull the upper portion off. Now to get the lower portion off of it, I'll have to pull the crank pulley off of it as well. But that's not an issue. Wow, that belt right there is loose. Look at that. You can almost just pull that thing off by hand. Huh, okay. Well, it's probably good that I'm pulling this thing so far apart because it has a bunch of issues. I'll bring you back when I get this assembly here off and we're able to look at the timing belt to see what we got. Well, the plot thickens. This timing belt looks to be in pretty good shape. I believe this has been replaced not too long ago. It looks really, really good. And you can see there's the notch on a cam, and that little divot right there is where that lines up, and that is perfectly lined up. Same with the other cam here. There's your divot, and that somebody put a paint dot up there, which is another thing that tells me that somebody's been here. Either way, that one's lined up. If you look down here, you'll see that I am at 0 degrees, top dead center, number 1. Looking at number 1, now that confirms that both of them are 90 degrees opposing. Number 1 is closed on compression, top dead center. So we didn't jump time. That leads us to the question of what did happen. And I don't have an answer for that. I think what I'm going to do though, I think I'm going to run a bore scope down the intake plenum and just look at the back side of the valves and see if that tells us anything at all. But we didn't jump time. Moving on. Well, here's a project update for you guys. Went ahead and pulled the head. And, you know, it only took like, I guess probably 5 minutes to pull the head off this engine after I spent a week, you know, getting everything disconnected. Pretty serious job. So check this out. There's your deck. And it's got a lot of spooge back in there. I don't know what that is. I don't think we had a blown head gasket. The pistons aren't steam cleaned like I would expect them to be had it been getting water in the cylinder. But check out this head gasket. It is not round. Maybe that's normal, or maybe it's just gotten squished over time. I don't know. But that fire ring around it is not round. Anyway, so that's what that side looks like. But let me show you what I found on the head and what is the actual problem on the head. So this is our back cylinder. This is cylinder number 5, number 3, number 1. If you remember, we had good compression on 1, and we had loss of compression, almost total loss of compression on 3 and 5. And here's why. Let me get this flashlight going in here. So I've got a flashlight stuck in the exhaust port here. And if you will look, you see light in there? You can see behind that valve. No good. So that's an intake, or that's an exhaust valve leak, big time. We back up to this one. It's way worse. Like, it's not closing at all. If we come around and go into the intake side, you can actually see my light shining on the side of the combustion chamber there. So that valve's not closed. Then we come to the exhaust of this one. It's actually not as bad, but it's the same, pretty much the same way. That pretty much seals the fate of the head on this little truck. The thing I don't know at this point is exactly what I'm going to do. By that I mean, I don't know if I'm going to take the head to a machine shop and just have the head reworked, or if I can just go and get a junkyard head that is hopefully in as good or better condition. I don't know. but you're gonna find that out on the next video. This video is getting kind of long, and it's kind of getting to the point where I'm gonna have some downtime because I'm gonna need to wait on parts. Obviously, we're gonna go ahead and put a timing belt on it, put a water pump on it. Obviously, that head is gonna have to have a whole upper gasket set. A lot of stuff we're gonna have to have for it. So I'll go ahead and we're gonna end this video here. Catch you on the next one, and hopefully we'll start going back together with this thing. Anyway, appreciate you watching. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. And guys, I'll see you next time.